We are here in Caruthersville, Missouri, right in the heart of the Bootheel, to listen to voices that remember what it was like growing up black in Southeast Missouri. From the cotton fields to the upstairs balconies of segregated theaters, from one night to skate to every day spent fighting for dignity. These stories remind us how faith and determination helped our families survive, overcome, and build a legacy. So let's start our stories, and I want to be first. What I remember, and I always tell this story for the young people who don't understand Jim Crow. Jim Crow was where we couldn't go in certain areas of town, and it was like an invisible line. And I remember my godmother lived right on the line. And I remember sitting there. I don't know if other children were with me or not. But I remember sitting there looking over into the white neighborhood, watching the kids play double dutch. So we would sit and we would study and we would watch it. And then we'd go find ropes and then we would mimic it. And you know how we are. Not long after that, we had made it our own. Mm-hmm. What are some of your other memories of growing up?
And we moved to Caruthersville when I was between the age of 3 and 4. And what I remember most, like children, well, I didn't know the difference between the white and black. And my mother worked for some white people, and they had 4 boys. I was the only girl. And after I got grown, I said, why did they make a difference between me? But I never knew a difference. And that was in the 40s. They never made a difference in me. I ate at the table with them. I slept in their bed. When it was Christmas time, I got toys like they did. And when it's birthday parties or whatever, I was the little black speck in the buttermilk, as they said. I was there at all time. And then when the boys would go to school, I thought they were just going to school, and I was gonna go to another school because I was a girl. And I learned that when I went to school, I learned that people always don't be as smart as you think they are, because they thought I was really, really a smart kid. But it was the environment that I was raised in. You know, we never used couch and nothing like that. It was sofa. I was raised around all the white kids and all the sofa, dining area and all that. And they said, well, say, ooh, she is really, really smart. No, if you had a known like I knew, I wasn't smart, but I was just learning from the environment that I was in. I learned the difference in foods because when we were growing up, I ate a lot of buttermilk and cornbread. And then what was left over from supper, you ate that for breakfast. There wasn't no such thing as cornflakes and Cracker Jacks and all that kind of stuff. No, we ate whatever that was left over, And the main thing, we didn't get no no cakes and all of that kind of stuff. We got that Christmas time. Christmas time, you got a sack with an orange, an apple, and nuts and a peppermint stick, and you would tickle to death to go out there and pull an icicle off the house and eat and play like that. But now I look at my kids come home and say, Peaches, say they don't do like they used to do they? I said, no. Everybody's inside on those cell phones. I said, when we was kids, we would come out and show what we got for Christmas and all of that. I said, but now you don't see kids pulling wagons, playing with dolls. I wonder, do they still have a toy store? I said, you don't see that anymore now. I said, my, how the time have gone flow. And that's my story. This is the story of Peaches.
I am Leola Agnew. I was born and raised in Caruthersville. I was the youngest of the 5 children. My mother, she had 4 children and was 4 months expecting with me, and our father left her for another woman that didn't have any kids. But through the Lord and through the grace of family, we made it. My mother, she came here from Mississippi as a girl, and she married here in Caruthersville. But I grew up with no water in the house. It was a pump outside on the porch. And when wash time come, what you would do, they had those big tubs. They had a water house out, or either they had something like a what you call a house where when they killed hogs and things like that, where you put your meat in smokehouse. Then they had a place where you put all your tubs and things for the wintertime. And in the summertime, you would leave them out. And we would have to pump this water a day or so before we get ready to wash. Because when you got ready to wash, we didn't wash inside, they washed outside. By me being the last one, it was a little lighter on me, but the 2 girls, they had to wash on the washboard. And what they did, they boiled your white clothes back then because it wasn't in the washing machine then. They boiled the white clothes, and then they would take those white clothes and rewash them over. Then they would have cold water that you had already drawn from the pump. And they had something like bluing. It came in a stick or either it came in a liquid. And they would drop this liquid over in this here water, and they would they put those white clothes in that water. And when they came out of that water, then they would go out there and hang them on the line. Now, they didn't have any wrangles. You had to do all this here washing and wring those clothes on your hanger. And they would tell my mama, said, Mama, you don't let Leafy do like we do. They called, my nickname was Leafy. She said, but when you got old enough, your mother didn't have to tell you what to do. You knew your job. And when you got a certain age, you were going in the kitchen, washing dishes. Wasn't no dishwasher. You had a dish pan, maybe 2 water buckets sitting on something like this bench here, a foot tub with some water in it. And when time for you to wash dishes, wasn't no television you was looking at. You was washing dishes. You had a broom that you scrubbed the wooden floor with, and it was clean. We didn't have no grass, but we had flowers and we had fruit trees. All these trees that you see in the yard like people got now and stuff growed up, we didn't have stuff like that. We had chickens. Some people had hogs, and we had an outdoors restroom. I can recall the first restroom we had. I think my mother said this, they got it through the city some kind of way. And it had a concrete floor, a concrete foundation, and a wooden stool. And one day we went to go to the restroom, and the lady next door, she had roomers, and they were sitting up in the restroom. So what we had to do, we had to lock our restroom up. And when we got ready to use to get the key, because the lady that had the renters over there, they would cross the fence and they would be over in our restroom. And how we made our living, we went to field. We chopped cotton and we picked cotton. We chopped cotton all day for 10 hours for $5 a day. And it wasn't like it is now. You couldn't say, well, I don't feel like going to field. Oh, you're going to field. I got a headache. That didn't work. You gonna work. If you didn't work, you wasn't gonna eat. That was all to it. And you ate whatever your mother put on that table. And I was fortunate enough to go from Washington to the 1st grade to the 12th grade. And when we crossed the railroad track, it was Ibn Stowe, and down from there was Miss Huckabee Stowe, and later on came Clark Grocery Store. And We walk home at 12 o'clock for lunch. Now, the only kids that ate at school were mostly the people that was working out and they children ate at school. And you could go to the store and you could get a slice of bologna or eat a slice of cheese. And at that time, they had those crackers and they came in the fourth section like. And you could get a slice of bologna and a cracker for a, uh, 5 cents. A pop would cost you 5 cents. You went to the movies, it would cost you 20 cents. All the candy that you could get Mary James, they were a penny a piece, and there was 4 or 5 of them in there. You could get Baby Ruth, Alma Joy, Old Henry, Payday. All those candies was a nickel. And we would get up in the morning time. We'd have to fix our breakfast and fix our lunch before we caught the bus or either the truck. And what I would do, we would get up around about 3 o'clock, and you in the field around no later than 5:30 when that's daylight come. And what we would do, you could go sometime. Some of the parents they would come and pick them up. But then sometime we'd have to walk through the alley, and all the alley was cleaned in. You walk from on 12th Street up there on Vest, and there was all kind of trucks and buses up there, and you could, whoever you wanted to go with was up there. And I recall one day, I didn't go to the field, but my sister went, and everybody was on one main truck, and another main pulled up and said, "I'm giving $6." They got off that truck and got on the $6 truck, and the main that said that, they got to fight. And somebody shot somebody, and he was lying down on the ground, and my sister come running from off of Best down through the alley at we stayed at 510 East 12th Street, and said, "Mama, mama, mama, somebody's down there killing somebody." And mama said, "Oh my God, what's going on down there?" Well, we didn't go to field that day. We didn't go to field that day. But it wasn't no such a thing about, I want to eat this and I got to eat that. You ate whatever mama put on that table, and if you didn't eat it, you had to wait till the next meal come. And I got tired of peeling peaches, picking snap bean. We had peaches. My aunt had plums, pecans. Next aunt had apricot, peaches, and plums. And they raised a garden. We ate a lot of vegetables out the garden. You didn't have all these grocery bills and things that people have, and the children could come and just buy whatever they want on the grocery bill. Oh no, that didn't work.
My name is Terrence Hubbard, growing up in Caruthersville. First of all, I must say, growing up in Caruthersville, I stayed scared most of my life living here in Caruthersville. And what I'm talking about being scared, I think I was in high school weighing 88 pounds, and it was in, I couldn't understand being 8 years old and had to go to the field. To all to say that I never did get, they were paying $3 a hundred if you picked 100 pounds of cotton. Never did get my $3, you know. And secondly, what made me afraid, I remember I stayed 1306 Franklin, right next door to the funeral home. That was the most devastating thing that could happen. And then we had to take turns of washing dishes, for a whole week. And I would never go over to the funeral home, to see who was dead or what body, because I felt that I would see them at night. And it was a lifetime of being afraid. I remember going to Washington School with my 5th grade class. It was in that storefront across the street from the school, you know. But all to say all of this, you know, let's skip all the negativity about growing up in Caruthersville, where it led to. And Viola said when she was talking, you know, Jeremiah 29 and 11 say, God know the plan that he have for us, you know. Living in Chicago, you know, around state 1010 East 79th Street on the south side, around gangs, you know, the whole thing, still being afraid, but still the protector of what God does for you know. And to say now, 50 some years later, all of my adult life, you know, I've been working around, you know, deceased people. I'm a forensic assistant doing autopsy, done 10,000, maybe what I can claim and know of, you know. All of this is strengthen what God has for us. He has a plan for each and every one of us. And that's where we have to remember where we came from. You know, the foundation that was built around, you know, I remember I couldn't understand my grandmother, my great grandmother raised me until I was 4 years old. Show you how God got me to remember things. She raised me until she died in March of 56. I was born in 52, so that means I was almost getting ready to turn 4 years old when she passed away. And then my grandmother got me, you know. I don't even remember talking, having a rapport with, you know, I didn't even remember my mother and father. And I think they started coming back to Missouri when I was 8 years old. Never, you know, all of us in here, mothers and fathers. I don't know, you know, anything you can say about a mother and father relationship with a child. I don't know anything about it. You know, my mother, they would come down, and I remember my grandmother say, "Oh yeah, go on over there. That's your mother." You know, that's all I remember. Nothing else to say it. You know, and again, the goodness of God, where He brings you through. What's been so instrumental was a Ronnie Nelson, Kenneth Simmons, and the Kenneth Tipler. And Kenneth, later on in life, as far as just talking with him, you know, and we talked this morning, which just, you know, could bring tears to my eye, because I had told him I became a deacon. And he asked me the question, what is a deacon? You know, and I went back and forth, but just giving him the right answer, you know. So, and he said, oh, that's right, you know. I mean, being proud where you came from, Caruthersville, Missouri, you know. And, you know, we can talk about all the negativity about, you know, things that happened to us in the past, but let's give God praise and glory where He have taken us through, coming up here in Caruthersville, you know. I know everything that is. I'm the only living person right now that know everything about Wisconsin history with Jeffrey Dahmer. I worked on the cases, you know. And again, where did God take you through? He knows the plan for us, you know. Again, we need to stop talking, you know, we can relate to where we came from. But what, you know, God still has a plan for all of us, you know. And it's fulfilling of what He has for us, you know. I know this segment is talking about what we can remember from the past. But just let's give Him praise and glory where He's taken us through. Only reason we're here right now is because God has still a purpose for us, you know. And that's the fulfilling part of life itself. You know, I wrote a paper once, and I said it was 3 things that can make you fail with everything in your life. The first one is I wrote, complain about everything. The second thing was to say, uh, um, blame other people for your problems. And the third thing is to never be grateful, you know. And that kind of stuck with me, you know. It's so much that we can take as the being successful, but but everything that we need is right there in that Bible, right there in that Bible. If we only just adhere to where it is. So I'm so thankful to have the opportunity to talk and say, just where, again, I know I'm supposed to be talking about the past and where we came from. But let's give God his praise and glory of where he's taken us to. Thank you.
My name is Dolores Williams, and I was raised right here in Caruthersville, Missouri. Uh, but I want to do something for us young people. Everybody stand up because my knees hurting. So everybody stand up and stretch them knees and move those knees around. Because I know me, I have to move them or they're going to get there. And so I'm glad to be here. And you can sit down now, but I just had to move my knees. One of the things, I was raised in a home with a mother and a grandmother. We didn't have a father in the home. It was 8 of us. And you met Dr. Presberry, who is my oldest brother. I'm in the middle. It's 4 older than me and 3 younger than I am. And, growing up in Caruthersville, I didn't know how poor we was. I say we was poor. And I didn't realize how poor we was until I actually started getting out, because even though we didn't have a lot, we had each other. And one thing about Caruthersville that I love, no one would ever let someone else go hungry. Um, I remember going to the Prather's house, and I don't know if I'm sure everybody knows the Prather's, and it was like 21 children there. And so you just got in line with one of the kids and ate, and they didn't realize that you wasn't even a part of the family. So you could just do that. And that's the way life in Caruthersville was. Mom didn't have any money because the welfare check hadn't came. Go to Mr. Young's store and tell Mr. Young, put it on her bill, and put it on her bill. And I guess Mama paid him off at some point, but at least we had something. The one thing I do want to talk about, because I am in the medical field, God blessed me to live out my dream to become a registered nurse. And some things that we don't talk as a people enough about is domestic abuse, abuse in the family. And we lived seeing my mother be abused almost daily. That made me a stronger person, because even though she was going through such hard times, she still instilled in us, get your education, have faith in God, and live your dream. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do what you want. Even though I would see her beat down every day. But I I know my brother Richard is tired of hearing this story, but it's so impactful for me and my life, because at some point once somebody called my brother. He was in Lincoln at Lincoln University in Jefferson City, and it was 5 of us still at home, and somebody called and said one of my brothers had gotten beat again. And so he had just gotten married, and he was a young man just starting his life, still in college, and he decided to come back to Caruthersville. And he came back in the middle of the night. Mom didn't tell us we were moving, because I'm sure she knew we would have said something. And we snuck in and we snuck back out. And a lot of my friends, even to this day, they just saw us disappear. But that was the beginning. And my kids always tell me I have to tell a funny joke if I'm making a speech. So one of the funniest thing is, we went to Jefferson City, and we were going across the bridge to go into Jefferson City. And I said, Richard, he said, what? I said, is there any cotton fields here? And, and he said, no. I cried with relief. I was like, no cotton fields. So I was the happiest camper. But actually, that transition in the beginning was hard for me because Black people in the city are not as friendly as we were here. You know, we would. You walk down the street, hey, what you doing? You athlete's kid, get away from there. Okay, yes, ma'am. They didn't speak to each other. And small town living, you have something so special and don't even realize how special it is. And I can tell you, when I first became a nurse, it was still funny. And even 20 years after being a nurse, and I became a nurse manager in the hospital, I would walk in a hospital room or something, and they said, no, I asked for a real nurse. I was like, it says RN. I'm a real nurse. You got one. What can I do for you? Because even to this day, people still don't understand. They will ask, how did you become a nurse? Went to school just like everyone did, worked hard. And so, one thing about Caruthersville that taught me the biggest lesson: hard work and faith in God pays off. And never give up, no matter what you don't have. Because my mother, she learned how to drive when she was in her 40s. She never drove while she was here in Caruthersville. And I was the one who taught her, which that was a trial. So, but I just want to say thank you to all the mentors that I had here in Caruthersville. Miss Letha, thank you. I live across the street from her. She was like another mother to me. So thank you all and enjoy the reunion.
I was born in Caruthersville. It's sort of like the old Sam Cooke song, I was born by the river. At that time, by the river was a red light district. We they served the traffic. You had a lot of traffic on the river then, and a lot of things happened. I was born over there. We were from the lower economic status, even for Caruthersville. Uh, a lot of a big section of the year, Dad wasn't in the house because he was a migrant worker. When this cotton and stuff ran out, he would go to Florida and pick oranges, and go to Michigan and pick apples. And but you know, we made it. It's a testament to God. I came up strongly rooted in the belief in God. My mom was really influenced into getting saved and into being a Christian by Ken Tippler's mom. She used to tell me this story how she would see Mother Hughes at the post office every day. And she got into the point where she would go to the post office at a certain time so she could see Mother Hughes. She followed her right on up into the church. Uh, Even with the poverty that was going on, we never lost our faith in God. A lot of us couldn't go to the doctor like we should have. A lot of us died from things that were probably minor. But one thing that we had, a lot of times when we got sick, they would find somebody that they felt could get a prayer through. And it's a whole lot of things we prayed for. I remember them praying for the cat, you know, because if you couldn't do it, you knew that God could. And so even with all of the hardships that we had, we as a people were able to look to God. I remember when Ken might remember this, the services in the church would get so high, we would leave out the church and everybody from up there around the grill and the jump spot would be down there peeping through the window. Yeah. My life was shaped by the people in the church and the people around the church. The reason that I became an artist is because I used to sit in the back of the church and look over Jeff Barron's shoulder Well, he wasn't listening to the sermon. He was back there drawing. And I was like, man, I want to do that. Jeffrey Barnes was the piano player at the church. My brother was his best friend when he graduated and went to Lincoln. My brother graduated and went to Lincoln. When I got out of school, I said, well, I'm going to Lincoln because people at Lincoln University know stuff. And I still feel like that. You know, we look to God. It's now we've thrown up our hands in despair. We don't in every community we coming from. I mean, we got people from Caruthersville all over the world. We have to look to God. That is our source. We forget that. Some of us feel like we're threatened by the current political situation right now, as if that man is God. He ain't God. God can make him shrivel up. So, you know, if I don't leave anything else with this, I want everyone to know that God has not changed. We changed. We have become weaker. We have we're not poor as we were then. I mean, back then I didn't really realize that I was poor till I got to college. Cause the people I grew up around didn't nobody have nothing. You know, but now we have a little more extra things, and we are neglecting the things that I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about society and us in general. We're neglecting the things that was important, the things that developed us into who we are. Some of us feel working 3-4 jobs to supply our kids with status symbols. Because they're like, oh, they got them new J's. Mm-hmm. But what about these parents that used to sit around and talk to us? I've been in situations where I've seen people that don't even sit around the table and eat. We're so prosperous. Everybody got a big screen TV in every room, and they get ready to eat. They all eating in separate rooms. They don't even communicate. We had family. Family was important, and the basis of family was God. You know, I graduated, and to make a long story short, I graduated from Lincoln, and I spent a lot of years in Chicago. I came back home, and I learned that, you know, I was talking to Ken earlier. I love this place. My professor at Lincoln said, "Hey, you trying to make a living as an artist, and you ain't gonna teach. You gonna starve." I ain't starved. When I came back from Chicago, they said, "You gonna quit that good job and go back to Caruthersville? You gonna starve." I have not starved. You know what? God is my source. God is all of our sources, whether we recognize it or not.
You know, I was born here in Caruthersville. I went to school at Washington. I remember my first day of first grade. My teacher was Miss Wells. And like everybody's been talking about today, the teachers really cared about you. They wanted to see you do well. And, you know, they were tough on you, but it was a great thing because that built character for you. I tell people sometimes I've went to school where from kindergarten to 12th grade it was all black. The teachers, administrators, janitors, people working the cafeteria were all black. When I moved to Jeff City, it was a complete opposite. You can count on one hand the number of black students. So in a way, I guess I had the best of both worlds, you know, learning how to deal with environment where it was all black, then learning how to deal with an environment where it was all white. Growing up in Caruthersville, my mom always taught us. She always taught us to treat everybody the way you want to be treated. And even when the Caucasians would be racist towards you, don't do the same in return to them. So she always wanted us to always, you know, two wrongs don't make it right. So, even when we were young, she taught us about, and I guess that was a lesson on forgiving. Um, I've kind of been listening to everybody, and you're bringing up God in this, and being here from Caruthersville, He made a way for a lot of us. And there's a gospel song out, Jesus make a way out of no way. So growing up here, everybody's family looked out for one another. And I've heard several people talk about the fact that we didn't really realize we were poor, didn't have a lot. I didn't even realize that until I was grown, because we always had what we needed. And there were a lot of people, some of my older brothers and sisters' friends, that when they would come by the house when we were young, we were young kids, they didn't want us around. And so, they would joke with us and hit us on the back of the neck or the head or something. But they would always, a lot of them they still would say positive things to us. And these are things that I remember to this day. Anytime when I'm coming here, it's almost like a movie where you remember all the experiences that you had here. And, I always tell people, living in Jefferson City, I see other youngsters from Caruthersville. From Caruthersville or the Southeast Missouri area, and I always ask them, well, where are you from? And they always say, well, I'm from Southeast Missouri. I'm from the Bootheel. It's almost as if they're embarrassed to say the name of the town. And I'll tell them, well, hey, tell us the name of the town you're from. And then I always tell them, I leave them with this: never forget where you come from. There are a lot of successful people around this country and probably around the world that are from Caruthersville or Hayti or Sykeston or, from Southeast Missouri. So I just say, hey, it's great being here. It's great seeing some of the people that I've heard about, and they've probably known me all my life. And I'm just thankful to be here and be able to finally see put the names, the faces to the names and all that. So thank you.
Well, I just wanted to kind of end with yes, we're talking about the past, and yes, we may have been poor, but we had a bustling community. Now, how many theaters did we have?
3.
And what were the 3 theaters?
Rogers, Gym, and the stadium.
Okay, but what was the difference in the theaters? They were segregated,
They
right?
were segregated. Yeah.
How many grocery stores? How many grocery stores did we have?
Cliff Jackson, Perry Mason was down on 12th Street where I stayed in. Cliff Jackson, Perry Mason, Charlie Gaines, Will Johnson, and he died, and then C.H. Young came in. C.H. Young moved on 12th Street. Yeah.
So it was a bustling community, and then with a school that was top notch with caring teachers, you couldn't beat it, no matter how poor we were. But it was a good time, and when I think back on my past, I have such good memories. And so I wanted to thank you all for joining us for this special live episode of Imuna. Today we heard stories of hard work in the cotton fields, nights spent upstairs in segregated theaters, and memories of a community that held tight to faith when freedom seemed so far away. May these stories remind us that Imuna, faith, is more than just belief in God. It's belief in each other, in our future, in the power of telling the truth about where we have come from. Until next time, keep the faith, share your story, And remember, our history makes us stronger.